Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies thanks to the almighty algorithm and talk about them. And with me, as always, the incredible, the amazing, the King Shark, to my starro, Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn. How you doing, Kyle?
Hand.
Yes, that is your hand. Good job. And
I'm
this is
doing
one of
good.
our mini episodes where we talk about what we've been watching lately instead of doing a full review. Sometimes these end up being maxi episodes, but it is what it is. So you can go first, Kyle.
All right. First on HBO Max, I watched with the family. Warner Brothers: The Archive, aka Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yes, with the Casablanca franchise.
Yeah, yes, all of the classics. They're all there. Hey, did you know that Warner Brothers owns the Harry Potter franchise?
I did not.
And Mad Max.
I did not.
Yeah, well, you watch Space Jam: A New Legacy, and you'll find out what all properties they own. It was Don Cheadle was fun as Algae Rhythm. He had a blast. And then other than that, it kind of was what it was. It was really shameless movie. It was a giant Warner Brothers plug, but there were some entertaining moments. That's about all I can say about it.
I did like how they did focus the relationship between LeBron and his son.
Yeah, that was nice.
They did at least have some emotional heart to the movie.
Yeah. So I mean, there was some substance there, but then there was a lot of just in your face Warner Brothers placement.
Mm-hmm.
So then on my Blu-ray set, my new Blu-ray set, I watched Psycho from 1960 from Alfred Hitchcock. Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot to say about this. Girl steals some money, ends up at a hotel, and there's a psycho there.
Yep.
And then she dies.
And
Spoiler.
And then she comes back as a zombie.
Yeah, that's in the sequel. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
This is a Hitchcock classic, and for a reason. Most people know this one, and if you don't, seek it out. Then on my Blu-ray set, I continued to watch with my daughter the Jurassic Park series. We watched Jurassic Park III.
Yes.
Téa Leoni and William H. Macy and a young, what's his face? In Old School with Will Ferrell. Vince Vaughn.
Oh.
Yes, as a photographer. They find a reason to go back to the island, another island again, and dinosaurs attack. And
Sam Neill is there.
And Sam Neill gets suckered back into it probably for a paycheck, because I don't think he was doing anything in 2001. I don't know. When was Event Horizon?
Was that around that was before that. So
okay.
It was like a few years before.
So anyway, yeah, more dinosaurs eating people, and you get introduced to the pterodactyls in this one, so that's kind of cool. But it's okay. Jurassic Park 1 and 2 are way better. It
also has the dream sequence with the talking dinosaur that says Alan.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that on the plane. Wake up, Alan. Then continuing on my Blu-ray journey of Psycho, I watched Psycho 2 from 1983. So this came out 23 years later, and Anthony Perkins returns, and so does Vera Miles as Marion Crane's sister.
Nice.
I will tell you, I've heard good things about this one before, and that's why I was okay buying the whole box set with all 4 movies, because it was a pretty good price. And I had never seen this one before. It's a really good sequel to a classic.
Nice.
I was surprised. It's got Meg Tilly also in it, Robert Loggia. R stands for Robert. O stands for, oh my God, it's Robert Loggia.
Exactly.
And then it's also got Dennis Franz in it.
Interesting.
As a jerk. This is a cool little sequel where it's like it actually takes place 23 years later too, and Anthony Perkins' character gets released from the psych ward or prison or whatever he's in, because they've decided, he's better now, and when he killed those people, he was sick at the time. So he gets released and he goes
Mm-hmm.
back to the motel, and then he starts working at a diner near there while he's, getting the motel back from Dennis Franz is the new manager there. And some killings start happening, and I won't spoil it because it's a cool, like I said, it's a cool sequel to Psycho. It's different, but it's kind of cool.
I think the biggest thing, at least if I would do with this movie, the biggest twist you could do is having the killer not be Norman.
Yeah, and I won't, and I like I said, I won't spoil this at all because I actually do. If you like Psycho, I would check out this, and you've seen it, enough times to know the basic premise. Then I would check out the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I really would. Then I watched on HBO Max. I watched The Suicide Squad twice because
Nice.
it's
I
just that
watched this
good.
one in theaters.
Very nice. I'm glad that you did because it had a very low box office, and I wish this movie made more money. But
It's fine.
I'm
COVID
back to
schmovid.
not being comfortable going to the theater again because I have an vaccinated kid.
And that's okay. If you got a kid that's a little too young, that's perfectly acceptable.
Yep. So I'm glad some people went to the theater to see this one because this
Mm-hmm.
one needs more money because oh my god, this was good. Like I said, I watched it twice and I want to watch it again, and I want him to make a sequel, and I'm going to watch that multiple times. The best thing they could have done is hired James Gunn for this.
Mm-hmm. Or Kathy Yan, because I thought she was great with Birds of Prey, but that's just me.
Oh, I did too, but I think that they were two completely different styles. I want to see her continue with Birds of Prey, and I want to see James Gunn continue with Suicide Squad.
I want to see. I want to see my Harley Quinn Poison Ivy romance. Gimme, gimme,
Right?
gimme, gimme.
Uh, One of the things I loved about the Suicide Squad was that it's the one of the first, and I know I'm not the first one to say this, but it's true, and I thought this when I watched it too. It's one of the first like quote unquote superhero movies because they're all bad guys technically. Y'all know the premise of Suicide Squad. They're
Mm-hmm.
prisoners trying to reduce their sentence. They've got a bomb in their neck and are forced to do a mission. And this is one of the first like comic book movies with actual stakes in it. Like you don't know who's going to die in this, and I will not
Mm-hmm.
give away who does, but it'll shock you. And all the way until the end of the movie, there were people I thought would die, and I was like worried. I was like, oh my god, they're going to die, and then they didn't. And then there were others where I was like, oh, they're going to make it through, and it's like, oh no, they didn't. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
it was so like I didn't know who was going to make it and who wasn't. It really was an unknown. Other than I will spoil that Harley Quinn makes it because honestly, if you go into this thinking that they're going to kill Harley Quinn, you're crazy.
Yeah, she's the only one with plot armor.
Yeah. No, but I will just say nobody else is safe. Like just
Mm-hmm.
just know that going in. But I loved that about this movie. And there was a lot and I love that they just let James Gunn go crazy with his rated R like
Mm-hmm.
gore and stuff. Some of the kills in this, yeah, there's a little bit of gore there.
Yeah, he
It's
almost got a little bit back to trauma territory because that's where he started.
oh yeah, it's great because I'm a fan of some of his early stuff and like Slither and even before that and all that. But yeah, I like his to counterbalance like the gore in it. There was a good kind of sick, almost sick sense of humor in it too.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and all the characters had their moments. And King Shark by far. I mean, you watch the movie for King Shark, seriously. And,
Yeah,
well,
he
actually,
almost stole the show.
him and Polka Dot Man.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I absolutely loved this movie, and it's
Yeah,
ranking right up there with my top comic book movies. Not top DC, but top comic book movies.
nice. Yeah. Great movie. I really like what they did with Polka Dot Man. I really think they humanized a character who's been kind of a joke character for a very long time.
They
Now, if
humanized a lot of the characters. They really did.
hmm yeah, good pulling, just like weirder, obscure characters, some you never heard of, and Weasel just
Yeah.
being creepy.
Well, and I watched the little vignettes. HBO Max has some little like 2 and 3 minute vignettes, and there's one of them where like James Gunn was even like interviewed, and he's like, "Yeah, they're like you can kill whoever you want." It's like, what? Yay! But no, it was a really cool movie. Like I said, watch it twice. I will watch it again and
Mm-hmm.
again. And then the final movie I watched was also on HBO Max. This one I was just didn't know what to watch, surfing through HBO Max and came across 1989's Tango and Cash.
Oh yeah,
This movie is
Stallone and Russell.
this movie is comfort food to me.
Mm-hmm.
I love this movie. This is two narcotics cops in LA. Uh, Stallone is the straight laced one that's always wearing a suit, a really nice suit, and he's buying stocks. He's got his nerd glasses on. It's really, I love the departure. And then, like, there's even a stupid joke at the beginning. So, who do you think you are, Rambo? And Stallone's like, Rambo's a pussy.
Nice.
Then we've got the slob, Kurt Russell. And, he plays just kind of a loose cannon slob pretty good.
Kurt Russell could play this part in his sleep.
He could, and it's glorious. And so
Mm-hmm.
they both get set up for murder, and then they're sent to prison because Jack Palance, the drug lord, is pissed off that they keep foiling his plans and like losing all his money and his drugs, and so he set him up, and then he's trying to get him killed in prison, and and then of course they escape and they have to find him. And
Don't forget Robert Zadar as the mini boss.
oh my god, the people that show up in this, Robert Zadar, and then Clint Howard shows up as a cellmate, and
Nice.
Michael J. Pollard is like the Q of the police station. It's like,
you just need like Joe Estevez and you complete it.
it really, the cast is so bizarre and wonderful, and this movie just, like I said, this is absolute comfort food for me. This is one of the best movies. So that's on HBO Max. Go watch it. If you're a fan of Stallone and Russell, if you're a fan of either one of them, watch this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and Terry Hatcher.
Don't expect this isn't going for any awards. This is trash, but it's fun. It's junk food, but it's good.
It is junk food, and it's a legit good movie though. It may be kind of trashy, but it's legitimately good. Not like it's so bad I like it. No, I actually legitimately love this movie.
It's greasy pizza, but it's still tastes pretty good, even though it's bad for you.
Yes.
Okay, so now it's my turn. I watched 11 movies, so ha ha ha. I almost doubled you.
Nice.
First I watched The Nun. This is more in the Conjuring series. This one takes place back in like an abbey in Romania in the 1950s, and like a priest and a novitiate have to go investigate what's been going on with these crazy nuns.
And Whoopi Goldberg plays the nun, right?
I wish Sister Mary Clarence was in this. What if it was the nuns from like Sister Act?
Yes.
That'd be that'd be an amazing crossover, but unfortunately it is not. But yeah, it's a good time. It's, scary movie. If you like the Conjuring movies, this is good, but it stands alone pretty well for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think this one got very good reviews, but I found it kind of creepy.
It's creepy. The abbey is a great location, or the nunnery or whatever.
Get thee to a nunnery.
Exactly. And yeah, pretty solid. I like the characters. Good. And then, I thought the evil nun played by Bonnie Aarons, she always does a great job whenever she shows up in scary makeup.
What else has she been in? I don't recognize the name.
She also played the nun in The Conjuring 2.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and probably again later, so. But yeah, she's been like around for a while, but it's kind of fun to see that she's that even in like scary makeup, she's still like having a good time.
Cool.
Next, I saw Jungle Cruise with.
Oh, did you?
With Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Emily the Boulder Blunt.
This one looks like I haven't seen it yet, but this one looks like it's like a callback to the fun like old Disney live action movies.
Yeah, it's like a fun, goofy adventure movie. And there are points where, because if you've ever been on the Jungle Cruise original ride at Disneyland or Disney World, it's, basically going on like a goofy boat ride, and then the skipper goes through the script of like these absolutely just like groan-worthy puns that are so bad they're good.
I'm in.
So And they even use they lift jokes directly from the script of the ride, so that's fun. So they have Dwayne the Rock Johnson's doing these terrible puns, but the basic premise is that Emily Blunt and her brother are want to go find this mystical tree where one petal of this tree could cure all disease and end all curses. So they go to the Amazon River in South America, and they need a skipper, and they can try and get there. So it's a race against them versus the versus evil World War I Germans, with Jesse Plemons doing all cheesy German accent on a submarine.
Oh,
Oh,
sweet.
and Paul Giamatti is there for 10 minutes, but it's a glorious 10 minutes. He knows what kind of movies he's in with a really thick Italian accent.
I'm now so in. I love Jesse Plemons. I didn't even know he was in this, and I didn't know Pig Vomit was in it either.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and it's a solid movie. Definitely plays from some of the Pirates of the Caribbean playbook too. And also, you see some of this in the trailer. One thing they're going up is against these cursed conquistadors who've been stuck in the Amazon for so long. One of them is just made out of snakes. One of them is made out of bees. One of them is made out of mud. So some kind of creepiness, but also a lot of good humor in there too. And there's some.
Would they then be conquistadors?
Nice.
Sorry, I was going with the theme of the movie.
They should have gotten. They should have used that line. I am now angry that they never used that line. Yep. And yeah, there's great chemistry between the two leads. Overall, a good time to be had. I think you think there might be a good family movie for you. Your kids are probably old enough to enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
Next,
Cool.
I watched Diary of a Mad Black Woman, which is the first entry in the TPMCU, Tyler Perry's Medea Cinematic Universe.
Oh, you started that with your girlfriend, right?
Yes, because she's seen all of them. It's hey, she wants to watch the Medea movies, so we're watching the Medea movies. So I figure even if I don't like them, at least I can talk about them on the podcast. This one, as a first entry, I kind of like. Medea is definitely more of a supporting character to the main woman. It's her grandmother, and so she's been married for 18 years. Her husband wins this big award, and then she says, "Hey, I've been cheating on you. I want a divorce. You get nothing." So she has to move back in with Medea and kind of rebuild her life. So yeah, and there are scenes where Tyler Perry plays Medea. He also played Medea's brother Joe, and then he also plays another character, Brian, out of makeup. So there were a couple scenes where just Tyler Perry talking to himself in three directions. So
nice.
It's all right, I'll be in makeup for this one, in different makeup for this one, and not in makeup for this one. So
hey, that saves on costs when you're producing the movie. You don't have to hire more actors.
That's true.
I'm gonna make a movie just starring me, and me.
Do what you got to do, right? It's like Peter Sellers in
Doctor
Strangelove.
Or like Eddie Murphy in half of his movies.
Or I was going to say it's like Alec Guinness in Cold Hearts and Coronets. He has 8 roles in that one.
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah, for what it is, it's fun. Medea's definitely more of a supporting character. Overall, pretty solid story, and obviously it found an audience because Tyler Perry's still making movies and doing very well, so good for him. Next, I watched Annabelle Comes Home. So I'm now further into the Conjuring verse. So after this one, I've watched all of them except the Conjuring 3, Devil Made Me Do It. So this one is fun because, all right, so they finally get the doll, Annabelle the doll, back to the Warren house like we saw at the beginning of the first movie. And then after they get it home, the Warrens have to leave for a case. So that means their daughter Judy has the teenage babysitter over. But whatever you do, stay out of this cursed artifact room. But naturally, you'll never guess what happens.
They don't stay out of the room?
They don't stay out of the room, so all this crazy stuff starts happening in their house. So it's fun because it's a group of teenagers and Judy, this one girl, and this little girl's all right, how do we fight against this? What do we do? And there is some creative uses. I mean, this is basically I heard it described as a theme park ride or a haunted house you'd go through. And in that spirit, it's fun. It doesn't take too much time, and overall, it's well done. I like these Conjuring movies. This was another pretty solid entry in one. because you
Yeah,
finally get to see what all the crazy stuff in the artifact room does.
yeah, they're not too bad. They're fine.
Yeah, they're solid, and that's enough for me. Next, I watched The Suicide Squad. We already talked about that one. Except, all hail King Shark. I love King Shark. I want a Build-A-Bear King Shark and his shorts.
Yes,
Also, Sebastian the Rat is adorable, and Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba, how he's scared of rats. That was a funny joke.
that was. Uh, to go back to it. I like that even though they're all criminals, like you had some empathy from like Ratcatcher. It's just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
she's in prison because she stole money because she's like, it seems like she stole money because she was homeless. This is
Mm-hmm.
like she doesn't seem like a terribly bad person, and Polka Dot Man is just kind of like messed up because of his childhood, and yeah, so like it's I like how he did the characters in this.
I just love how everyone you find out that Polka Dot Man says it's hard to kill people except when he imagines them as his mom. So every once in a while you see like him imagining people as his mom, even the giant monster.
That was one of the best lines. It's easier when I imagine them as my mom. It's like
Yes.
TMI, dude.
Yeah. Good stuff. That was some great. It was always a good visual gag when that came back throughout. Then I watched Killer's Kiss, and this was a pretty nasty noir. And so, what's fun about this one is the fact that this is about a man and a woman, and she's staying at like a boarding house to get a divorce. And so then a man drifter kind of comes in, hits on it. They got a little bit of chemistry going, and then like he hits on someone else, gets rejected, and then he kills the owner of the boarding house, who is the woman he hit on, not to confuse the divorced woman. So then like and the divorced woman was the first one that finds the bodies but doesn't say anything. So then throughout this, like she goes later, is getting engaged to like a rich guy, but then what happens when this drifter shows up again? They've got like this really interesting but gross toxic relationship where like for whatever reason she just refuses or just whatever won't go to the police to tell them what they know, saying, hey, this guy's a killer, even to the point when like this drifter wants to marry her like foster sister who's also really rich.
Interesting.
Yeah, great noir, some great acting from around. Even Alicia Cook Jr., who seems like he dies in every movie. It's like him and Shelley Winters would die in every movie in like the 50s.
Are they the Sean Bean of the 50s?
I would argue maybe Sean Bean. Yeah, except he's definitely a character actor who would show up in everything and then always die in everything. But whenever he showed up, it would always be a good performance. I once saw like a letterbox list where it's like movies where Shelley Winters drowns. Like how there's more of them than you think.
That's an odd
That's
repeating
specific
character
and that's
choice.
great. Next, I went to a Criterion Channel where they have this neo noir collection that goes from like the 70s to I think to like the 90s. And I watched Body Heat from 1981 with William Hurt and Kathleen Turner. And this is a sweaty movie and a very horny movie. Because, in 40s noir, you'd imply the sex. This one shows the sex. It takes place in Florida and it's really hot. So everything just a lot of sweatiness around, but it's great. It's nasty and kind of feels at first like a loose remake of Double Indemnity, but then goes in a different direction.
Cool.
Also with like Ted Danson as a side character for some reason. I assume it was before he moved to Boston and opened a bar.
Well, there you go. Hot, sweaty neo noir with Ted Danson.
Hot, sweaty Danson. But yeah, it's great. Next, I watched Walk a Crooked Mile, and this one was sort of a noir slash early police procedural because this one has narration of like, and then this point they do this, sort of almost sounds like a newsreel.
I was gonna say, is it a police squad?
It almost, I mean, it's definitely this is probably where like stuff like Dragnet comes from.
Yeah.
One of those is I would argue like this, and probably even bigger, Naked City is where Dragnet comes from, and pretty much all police procedurals come from there. And with this one, it's like an FBI agent teams up with a Scotland Yard agent because they think someone is leaking all these formulas for a factory or like a plant that's working on a nuclear weapons. So that's not great. Got to fight the commies.
Always got to fight the commies.
Next, I decided I wanted to cry, so I watched Grave of the Fireflies. Have you heard of this one?
I think I've seen this one.
Everyone on the internet says it's one of the saddest movies ever, and they are right. So yeah, this is Studio Ghibli, and it's about two kids trying to survive at the end of World War II in Japan after their town gets firebombed and they lose their mother. Whew.
That's what I thought is like they lost their parents or one of their parents or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their dad was in the Navy, so he's presumably gone.
Yeah, it is. It's a very sad movie.
I'm starting to tear up just thinking about it. So yeah, it's gorgeous, and I think everyone should watch it because it's a very powerful anti-war movie and just shows just how needless so much of the destruction was. So it's a very good anti-war movie because it shows that these big tragedies have ripple effects to cause even smaller tragedies that are just as powerful.
Yeah. I like those, like better than a lot of the old war movies that almost seem to glorify war.
Definitely. So yeah, that's a big one. And but all the Studio Ghibli movies are on HBO Max except Grave of the Fireflies. I think it's like a licensing thing. It was made under like a different agreement.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
and I
like
have
owned by
HBO
different
Max.
things.
I need to start watching some Ghibli.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Well, got all of these. Might as well have a Ghibli marathon because we did review Lupin the Third.
Yeah. Was that Ghibli?
Yes, that was Miyazaki's
Oh, it was
first.
Yeah, Miyazaki's first movie. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good movie. Have you checked out the Netflix show Lupin? Just as a side note here.
Now, is that based off of the same character or?
I think so, but it's like a live action.
I know it's a French series, but
Yeah,
I
it's a
also
live action
know
French
that
series.
But I also know that a lot of manga can be translated into French. So, for example, there are some manga which you can find in French but not in English.
Oh,
So that's interesting. But France really likes comics, and for some reason, a lot of great stuff comes out of there, like Moebius. The guy who designed like the Fifth Element, and he was an incredible artist.
oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, if you like comics and you don't know about Moebius, check him out. He's amazing. Next, I watched this 1990s weird psychological thriller movie called Scissors with Sharon Stone and Steve Railsback playing double duty as like a pair of twins, one in a wheelchair, one not. It kind of tries to pull off like a late movie twist that didn't really work for me. So I'd say, I watched it for Sharon Stone, but it's like, I mean, she's good, but I feel like she just doesn't get a lot to do in this movie, which is a shame.
I don't think I've ever heard of this one.
Yeah, I mean, it came out like a year before Basic Instinct, so, maybe it's best left forgotten, but it was on the DVR. I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but it was on the DVR, so I must have recorded it, so.
Must have been a reason.
I guess. And lastly, I watched Ghostbusters 2016, aka Ghostbusters Answer the Call, with the great cast of Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones as our four heroes. And this movie, remember when this movie was like gonna be like bring about the apocalypse or whatever angry people on Twitter said about it when it first came out?
Yeah.
So because I avoided it like the plague at the time.
I don't like what happened on Twitter because I don't like this movie, but now anybody who doesn't like it is just a chauvinist who doesn't want women in movies. I'm going, no, I don't. I like Paul Feig movies. I like Paul Feig movies with Melissa McCarthy. I like Spy.
Spy is amazing. I love Spy.
I liked that one where with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock playing cops. What was that one?
I think it was like The Heat.
The Heat. I liked that one. I liked Portions of Bridesmaid. This one I just didn't like because they didn't do
it for you.
Yeah, they felt like a bunch of like, this is how I described it when it first came out after I watched it. Ghostbusters, the original, is 4 really cool characters.
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters, the remake, reboot, sequel, whatever this is called, is 4 women playing really obnoxious caricatures, not characters. And I'm in the minority, I know, but I don't like Kate McKinnon. I think she does not do anything comedically for me. She just mugs at the camera in all SNL skits, in all of her movies, even in the commercials she's in now. Like I don't remember whatever commercial she's in now. Mm-hmm. All she does is mug at the camera, and it drives me crazy.
Well, I love Kate McKinnon, so I this movie definitely did a lot more to me. But I think you have to admit the effects are great
Yeah.
and the ghosts look really cool. Like the proton packs and all that stuff, they look great. I really liked Chris Hemsworth as like this dumb secretary.
Chris Hemsworth has surprisingly good comic timing.
He was great. I enjoyed him as Kevin, this just idiot. I guess I can describe Kevin as like a human golden retriever. He just wants to help and is a generally pretty happy guy.
Yeah. I think part of my problem is that it's not the women that was in it, it's the way it was written. Is a lot of their lines were very like over the top and like in your face, like, do you get it? Do you get it? Where like the original Ghostbusters, and everyone said, well, don't compare it to the original Ghostbusters. I'm going, well, how am I not supposed to when it's Ghostbusters? The original, everything was subtle. The jokes were just, they said the joke and moved on. Like this was one of those movies where they say the joke, kind of like a Will Ferrell movie, where like he says the joke and then he says it again in case you didn't get it. And then he says it again in case you really didn't get it. And then he says it 12 more times because he just can't stop.
I think that's okay, but I'm happy to agree to disagree on this one.
Oh no, I don't begroan anybody who loves this movie.
Yep, but at least it also knows it's a comedy, because I don't know what's going on with Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, that I'm almost more worried about that one than this one, because that one, I agree. Is that a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it like, what is it? And talk about like just like profiting off of nostalgia. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the previews for that one, they bother me because in the original, it was an idea that Ray had in his head, because they said, think of something that makes you happy. And he thinks of that. Why then are we getting little Stay Puft Marshmallow Mans in a grocery store? Like there should be no reason for it. They really have to convince me on that one.
Yeah, also just, I'm sure it'll be fine, but like, I think anyone can admit that Ghostbusters is just like not much of a franchise, because there was 2 movies and a cartoon.
And the cartoon series was great.
I know that I've heard a lot of good things about the cartoon, but like there's really not a lot to do with it. Like there wasn't really much of a quote unquote world to build on.
I think that you could. I mean, it's a great premise to build on. You could build like within the movie universe, like franchise, like a Ghostbusters franchise, like, and have Ghostbusters all over the place. Like you could go places with this, but I just don't think they've gone to the right places yet with well, I mean, so far with the 2016, like I said, I can see why people like that one. It just didn't do it for me. But this new one, I'm like, I don't know. I'll give it a chance, but like you said, I don't know what tone they're going for with these trailers. But it could be good. I like that Paul Rudd is in it. I always love seeing Paul Rudd and stuff.
I like Paul Rudd. I like Finn Wolfhard.
Yeah, Finn Wolfhard's great. So like, and I like to see a good solid kid cast, and so yeah, we'll see where that one goes.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it won't. If it's good, that's great. If it's not, that's fine.
If it's not, I'll watch the original Ghostbusters again.
Yeah, it's still there. I still have it on DVD. It's still on the shelf. So like,
it will never go away, and it will never stop being great.
Yes, and that's okay. Hey, at least the 2016 one doesn't have that really weird ghost blowjob scene.
Yeah, that's a little.
84 still, I mean, the original Ghostbusters still has its problems. Like, it's also like super Reagan-y. Like the bad guy is from the EPA. I never understood that.
It's true. This man has no penis. Or is it, This man has no dick?
This man has no dick. Anyway, so what do you think you might watch next?
I'm totally gonna get into Psycho 3 here.
Oh yeah? Is it Psycho 3D?
I don't think Psycho 3 and 4 can touch the first two, but hey, I was pleasantly surprised by the second one, so.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be like Jaws 3D, or it has nothing to do with anything, but at least it's in 3D.
Right.
And no, and it takes place at SeaWorld.
So yeah, that's I'm definitely gonna jump into that one at some point in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, for me, I'll probably just keep digging into the Neo Noir collection on the Criterion Channel and probably work my way through all the Studio Ghibli movies because I've only seen a few of them.
That's cool. I actually like hearing every 2 weeks hearing about some of these neo noir movies. They sound really cool. And I actually put some on my list when I'm editing these podcasts. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll pause editing and go, oh, let's add that to my list there.
The next one is Blowout. I think that's the next one on that I have in that collection.
Oh, the De Palma.
Travolta, yes.
Okay, I'll tell you. Have you seen it before?
I watched part of it. I just didn't get around to finishing it.
I'll tell you that one's a great movie.
Yes.
And the end scene will just it's something. It's
Is it
kind
just
of
like Phantom of the Paradise with a big musical number?
no, it is
Paul Williams does not play like the devil.
the last like scene is like kind of devastating.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a good movie.
Yeah, personally, I'm not that much for De Palma. He always seemed kind of gross.
He does, and I think I was not much of a fan of his, because of some of that, like when I was younger. But like for some reason, the older I get, like the more I appreciate the other stuff in his films. Like
Mm-hmm.
he is people call him like a Hitchcock like wannabe, but it's like I think he did that on purpose. Like he was
I
imitating
mean,
Hitchcock on
if you're
purpose.
gonna rip someone off, you might as well rip off the best.
And now that I've started, like in the last few years, watching a little more of his earlier stuff, there's some stuff like Blowout and what was it? Is it Body Double? Is that the name of the movie?
There's one, and then there's like Sisters. I saw Sisters.
Okay, I
Sisters
didn't
was
see that one
almost
yet.
good. That was creepy.
But yeah, like some of these, I'm like, oh, I actually am a De Palma fan. It
Mm-hmm.
turns out, I never thought I was, and then I started rewatching some, and then watching some new ones in the last few years. I'm like, oh, nope, I'm a De Palma fan. So, well, I hope you enjoy Blowout. It's a good movie.
Yeah, and hopefully I can continue with these neo noir collection. And I like the good stuff. I think I've talked about that I like noir movies. I don't know if I've established that in my podcast.
I sure hope so, because if you don't, you're punishing yourself here.
Yes. All right. Until then, you can find us on social media. I'm on Twitter at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled SATERN.
And I am at AwesomeKM. You all know how to spell awesome. And we are on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch, and you can email us, we don't know what to watch @gmail.com. And until next time, keep watching.
I'm Kevin the Secretary.